Griff, can we kick off with the Liam Williams kind of links to the Ospreys? Is he a kind of player that you'd like to see at this region?
No, we can't kick off with Liam Williams information. I'm not going to talk about anything transfer-wise. It's in the middle of other stuff at the moment.
Is that an area, Griff, that you feel that you might be able to add to your strength and depth, possibly?
Oh, it has been historically over the last few years or so, but in terms of where we are with some of our squad depth, I think we're pretty comfortable, and we'll see how we go with that.
Because there are a range of fullbacks out there, aren't there? Which I suppose other regions as well as the Ospreys might be interested in.
They are all good players, and we've got our own decent players too. So we'll move on pretty quickly.
Yeah, and when you had a look at the video, Griff, of the game, how pleased were you over the weekend?
Yeah, obviously the scoreboard should hint that there's a lot of good stuff going on. But I mean, to be fair to Treviso, I mean, people look at the scoreline and think they folded really with how they performed. But for a long while, their defensive structures are good. We had to really work hard and work smart in terms of what we were doing to try and break that green wall. But a lot of what we're doing training-wise came through. So regardless of who you play, what we're trying to train and put on there, did come through. And then obviously once they got tired, and the second try, third try, mentally they started to waver a bit, and then we had to take advantage, and we certainly capitalised there. But again, a lot of it based on good teamwork, a lot of transfer from what we're training. So you can't ask much more from the players. Plus, obviously, people getting on the park, and it's a real good squad effort for the third week in a row. As
backs coach, Griff, what pleased you most?
Obviously, there's so much possession. It's taken me, a long Sunday to go through all and everything in terms of both Italian home games. But that's fantastic for me. Having to do. Go through all that, because you see so much quantity and quality of backs work, the amount of times that people are getting the ball in the wider channels, but also the carrying game from individual backs. So we're getting the balance right between the width of our play, but seeing people like Hassler, Ben John, Dan Evs, not just showing skill moments in the wider channels, but actually going through an opposition side, which, as I said, for Treviso we had to do, because you can't just go wide. You've got to actually use your ball carriers in the middle of the park. So those players in particular, but also then you're getting good ball carry numbers from the back row, and the odd spike from your tighter prop as well, which is interesting.
And with Keelan Giles, how did you assess his performance?
Yeah, pleasing. He's got that spark, and we've seen it in training whenever he lines up for the opposition side. Whoever's opposing him on the wing, knows there's someone who's going to challenge him with footwork and causes havoc. So it's nice to have that in an armoury, and it's been nice again to have a good few weeks with him. A lot of learning going on behind the scenes. Physically, again, you've got to manage these players through different parts of the calendar. But we've enjoyed dropping them in there in terms of a performance off the bench around a lot of good players around in terms of this period of the year. So that's great for him. But it's also good to go back through a couple of things today, his working week, and knowing that there's a guy there that could add to the squad as the season goes on.
With Leinster this weekend, how important is Heaslip to their effort?
Yeah, I think the mindset of Leinster, they went away from home on the weekend, and they really took a grip of that Edinburgh game up in Murrayfield. Some of their attack had a bit of a clinical edge to them, which is probably coming back in terms of their mindset, in terms of where they're trying to move the ball, and he's at the forefront of that. He knows when to dog it out, but also understands the Leinster way in terms of the traditional way they're trying to play, which, as I said, shone through, and they had good balance to their game. And when they had to dig in defensively as well in the second half, people like him, Levy, Van der Fleer, and all their front five, they people understand what it takes to get the job done, and they've shown that. Likewise, Glasgow away was a game they could and should have won, but having a Heaslip on the park last weekend might have been a difference.
And there's potentially a nice matchup in the second row in Lions here between Alun and Devon Toman. Yeah,
potentially. I think everyone is. Some of the Lions talk goes on behind the scenes, but I think Al, from our point, has got different considerations now about having a bit of rugby last week and getting comfortable with some of the stuff we're doing. Again, being excited by what we're trying to do, and regardless of opposition, and we're fully respectful of whoever they put into their team. We just go to the RDS and try and get our house in order and really enjoy the challenge of going away from home.
He's come back into the setup, Al. Is his appetite, do you feel, you know, still as sharp as ever for the Ospreys and achieving with you?
Yeah, without question. You know, he's been chomping at a bit. I remember the Connacht week in particular, he was really instrumental behind the scenes of driving some of the Connacht way and actually being part of the opposition group, which causes some niggliness in the working week, but for good reasons. He's pushing the starters in that week, and now obviously it's flipping to him being part of the starting group and, you know, demanding standards which, you know, keep us consistent week in, week out, and that's been a theme for the young players through the summer, and now we're into the heart of it. Regardless of what's gone on, we've just got to get our work done, you know, and a tighter week this week as well, as sharp as we can be.
Is he ready to start, and the likes of Dan as well, Dan Bigger and Scott Baldwin, are these guys ready to start?
Yeah, I think mentally they are. Physically they've had the luxury of probably a longer period than we've been able to afford for a fair while, and you know, they'll get the benefit of that through the season, but I know they're all keen to put themselves in the mix, and as I said, last weekend is a nice lead-in in some ways to obviously far bigger challenges ahead, and they and all the squad know it becomes a nice little challenge for us, Dublin away.
And Steve was asked about this one on Saturday night, you know, very, very tough selection at number 10.
Yeah, there is, you know, there's stuff, we debate long and hard. Last week, looking at the flow of the game going to Treviso and what the scenarios are for next week, so we've considered all things there, and there's still a couple of things to work through, but knowing that you've got, you know, obviously a form guy at 10, but a world-class talent to complement that, it's a fantastic headache to have, and you know, one I think that we can take advantage of.
You had an incredibly strong first half against Treviso, Griff. I think you scored your bonus point before half time. What was the conversation like in the dressing room? Was it a case of, you know, this is too easy, or you had to keep, you know, switched on for the entirety of that match?
Yeah, keep switched on. I mean, we didn't score. I mean, it was 3-3 up to about the 22nd minute. So again, give credence to some of Treviso's defensive structures. We had to go through our working patterns to get what we wanted. As I said, the dam did break a little bit prior to half time, but then, you know, we couldn't, you know, take our foot off the gas. Really, we had to keep going at it, and that was the big focal point at half time. That really want to hammer our advantage home and you know, really be competitive around the contact area, not to switch on, and how physical we could perhaps exert some pressure there. And it's interesting to see how they lost some discipline in the contact area thereafter, but also then around not getting carried away around our individual mindset, do what's best for the team, and putting other people in better positions. And for the most of the second half, we adhere to that.
I wanted to ask you about Italian side's presence in the Pro12, given your experience coaching in Italy. You've put 50 points on 2 Italian sides across 2 games. What do you think the future looks like for Italian rugby in the Pro12? Should Italian teams play? Should the Pro12 be able to expand, as there have been talks of this summer? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm obviously a big supporter of Italian rugby. I've had an experience there, knowing how passionate some of the people are, you know, there for the game. It's obviously a slight concern, and that Italian away mindset, you know, is something obviously we've taken advantage of, perhaps in actually doing our work, to seeing a group of players who didn't have much squad depth on the weekend, admittedly, that, you know, perhaps we got on top of mentally. So that's something, and that's an historic they've got to get on top of, really. But I think beyond that, I mean, you've got to look at Zebra then can bounce back, and were tremendously competitive in Dragons away, which you know, tells its own story, really. And then they've, you know, obviously been well ahead of Connacht at half time, just showing how competitive they can be. No one enjoys going out to Treviso at any time of year, you know, so they're more than competitive. And I know there's good people in the Italian system. Speaking to Marco Bortolami on the weekend, he knows there's things that they can bring to the party, which I think they will do so over time. And even more importantly, perhaps, they've got a head coach who can actually see the bigger picture in Conor O'Shea, and a guy, Steve Aboud, who's just joined from the Irish Rugby Union as the coach development manager. I think he can make some real inroads into the pathway of the game in Italy, which hasn't been there before. So I think you've just got to perhaps, hopefully they can invest in that and give more time, and I think they'll help the league long term, I think.
So the future is bright for Italian rugby. For now, Italy should remain within Pro12.
I think certainly, sir. I think there's you know, enough good quality there. I see some of the young talent Zebra's got. I name checked them a few weeks ago before we played them, and I'm looking how they performed in the last 2 games to show that there's players that can and will stand up there.
Are there any injuries ahead of Friday's match?
No, Tyler's just got to finish off some of his protocols there, but for us, yeah, we're relatively fit and fresh.
And today it's been announced that there's going to be a move to St Helens for the Anglo-Welsh Cup. And what's the significance of that for the Ospreys moving back to St Helens for that match?
I think it's brilliant. I think it's really important to us. We've shown before around some of these games together on the region. But this will obviously be the first one for us back at St Helens. And you speak about someone like Alan Wynne-Jones, who grew up watching Swansea down at St Helens for years and years, and how many local boys we've got who've come through the system there. I think from that point of view, it's great to be back and engage what's a great part of our region. And so I think from a personal point of view, I love the Swansea track as well. St Helens and the ground staff there do an amazing job, and it's the type of rugby we can produce there as well. But I think it's really significant and pleasing.
Gruff, do you think Alan Wynne will relish the challenge of trying to become a Lion again?
Yeah, I'm sure he will. I mean, first and foremost, he could be celebrating his 200th game this week, and that's probably a short-term milestone for us, which should be truly cherished first and foremost, and then he'll take the years that flows from there, I guess.
Can you say a few words about him, as this 200th game is clearly a serious landmark? What has he brought to the Ospreys over the years?
Just huge consistency of role, of performance, of mindset. And in terms of the rugby itself, I've known him for a long time, and I've never seen any performance dip below an 8 out of 10. You see a lot of guys come on the scene. They get the guys who come through quickly, but they can go from there to there pretty quickly. And to do what he's done, managing the calendar that these international players have had for the course of a couple of Lions tours, countless Wales cycles, he's a phenomenal man, as well as a phenomenal rugby player. But I think we can cherish both as well.
And he's led this region for X number of years. Do you see, Gruff as having the qualities to perhaps lead the Lions next summer? Yeah,
without question. I think he proved that, how he just stepped up and assumed the mantle for the last week in the last tour. But it's been some difficult years for us. I mean, he's had obviously come through a different era, and then he's lost a lot of his close friends and teammates. He's had to ride that at a difficult time for Welsh rugby, but he's been a talisman, and his loyalty to the region, and what he represents for the people around us and his teammates. He's just a huge man.